This is the fifth part of Chapter 1 Laws of Motion. If you haven't watched the first 4 parts, please click on the link in the description box below. Hey, this video was made just for you. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.
Newton's first law of motion. Let's try this. Fill a glass with sand, keep a piece of cardboard on it, keep a 5 rupee coin on the cardboard. Now strike the cardboard hard using your fingers. Observe what happens. So they are telling us to take a glass and fill it with sand. Then take a cardboard and keep it on the glass, and on the cardboard to keep a 5 rupee coin and strike the cardboard hard. So we have to strike as in you have to either pull it or very hard you have to push it so that the cardboard leaves the glass. And you will observe that the coin stays in its position for a very brief amount of time or very small amount of time before it falls in the sand. If the coin was actually on the cardboard, when you would move the cardboard, the coin would also move with the cardboard, but that did not happen. It was at its place before it fell. So that is because of the property of inertia. Because this body is at rest, it will continue to remain at rest before an external force acts on it. So the external force that acted on it was gravity. So because it did not have any support and because gravity acted on it, it fell inside into the sand. Balanced and unbalanced force. You must have played tug of war. Tug of war is the game in which you put a string and have two teams on either end that pull. So long as the forces applied by both the sides are equal, that is balanced, the center of the rope is static in spite of the applied forces. So on either side, as long as both the teams are putting equal amount of effort to pull, the rope will stay in the middle. But as soon as one team puts more amount of force, the rope will go towards that team. On the other hand, when the applied force becomes unequal, that is when one team applies more force than the other team, that is unbalanced, a net force gets applied in the direction of the greater force and the center of the rope shifts in that direction. So if one team is putting more effort and pulling the rope even harder than the other team, then the center of the rope will shift towards that team. An object continues to remain at rest or in a state of uniform motion along a straight line unless an external unbalanced force acts on it. So this is what we learned earlier also, that if an object is at rest, it will continue to remain at rest, and if an object is in motion, it will continue to be in motion unless an external unbalanced force acts on it. So in this case, the unbalanced force was gravity, so that pulled the coin towards the sand. When an object is at rest or in uniform motion along a straight line, it does not mean that no force is acting on it. Actually, there are a number of forces acting on it, but they cancel one another out so that the net force is zero. So they are saying that even when you keep an object on a table like a book, it is not that no force is acting on it, but equal number of forces are acting on it in all the directions. So there is, for example, the force of gravity that is acting towards it below, and the force applied by the table on the book that is cancelling out the force applied by gravity. That is why the net force acting on it is zero and the object remains at rest. Actually, there are a number of forces acting on it, but they cancel each other out so that the net force is zero. Newton's first law explains the phenomenon of inertia, that is, the inability of an object to change its state of motion on its own. So now when you keep this book on the table, it will not be able to change its state of motion, that is, it will not be able to move on its own. It also explains the unbalanced forces which cause a change in the state of an object at rest or in uniform motion. So if we were to remove this table and just keep the book in air, only the force of gravity would act on it then, and the book would fall towards it. That is, the book would fall towards the earth in which direction the gravity is pulling it. So that is what is explained in Newton's first law of motion. Now let's study Newton's second law of motion. Let's try this. Ask your friend to drop one plastic and one rubber ball from the same height. You catch the balls. Which ball was easier to catch and why? So, ask your friend to stand at a height and first throw one plastic and one rubber ball towards you. You stand down and catch it one by one. So, when the plastic ball is thrown towards you, because it is hollow, it would be easier to catch. The rubber ball, which would be heavier, would be difficult to catch. And why is that? This tells us that if the mass of an object is more, it is more difficult to catch it. Ask your friend to throw a ball towards you at slow speed. Try to catch it. Now, ask your friend to throw the same ball at high speed towards you and try to catch it again. Which ball could you catch with greater ease and why? So now either you take the plastic or the rubber ball, any one ball, and first ask your friend to throw it slowly, and then the same ball ask to throw it faster. So if you take the plastic ball and throw it very slowly, it is very easy to catch. But the same plastic ball when thrown very fast at high speed would be difficult to catch. Now the mass was the same, but the speed changed, that is, the velocity of the object changed. Because of that it was difficult to catch. So this tells us that the velocity also plays a role and it makes it difficult to catch the ball even when the velocity is fast. So why does this occur? This occurs because of something called as momentum. But what is momentum? That Newton's second law of motion will explain. So let's see. The effect of one object striking another object depends both on the mass of the former object and its velocity. So as we seen earlier, both the mass and the velocity has an effect on the object's motion. This means that the effect of the force depends on a property related to both mass and velocity of the striking object. This property was termed as momentum by Newton. So Newton gave the word as momentum because he didn't know what exactly it was. He only knew that mass and velocity was dependent on it. So what is momentum? Momentum has magnitude as well as direction. Magnitude means a value, it has a force, as well as it is dependent on the direction of motion. Its direction is the same as that of velocity. So whichever direction the velocity of the object is, the momentum of that object would be in the same direction. In SI system, the unit of momentum is kg meter per second, while in the CGS system, it is gram centimeter per second. So this is just the unit of momentum, which in SI system is kg meter per second and in CGS system, it is gram centimeter per second. If an unbalanced force applied on an object causes a change in the velocity of the object, then it also causes a change in its momentum. So, when an unbalanced force is applied, it has to be unbalanced because, as we seen earlier, if there are equal forces acting on opposite directions on that object, then they will cancel each other out and there won't be any effect of those forces on the velocity. Therefore, it has to be an unbalanced force applied on that object and that will cause a change in velocity. And because momentum depends on velocity, any change in velocity will change its momentum. The force necessary to cause a change in the momentum of an object depends upon the rate of change of momentum. So, the unbalanced force necessary to cause a change in the momentum is dependent on how strong the force is. That is, how much force is required to cause change in momentum per unit time. That is, rate of change of momentum. So, momentum is denoted by the letter P and not M because mass is denoted by the letter M, so that there is no confusion. Therefore, momentum is denoted by the letter P. Momentum is the product of mass and velocity of an object. Since mass and velocity can both change the momentum, as we seen in the example when your friend was throwing the ball, therefore momentum, that is P, is equal to mass into velocity, and this is a very important formula. Momentum is a vector quantity. If you remember, vector quantities depend on the direction as well. So momentum depends on the direction of the motion of the object. Therefore, momentum is a vector quantity. The rate of change of momentum is proportional to the applied force, and the change of momentum occurs in the direction of the force. So as we seen earlier, momentum's direction is the same as velocity of the object. So in whichever direction the velocity of the object is moving, the same direction would be the change of momentum. And that rate of change of momentum is proportional to the applied force. So we seen over here the force necessary to cause a change in the momentum of an object depends on the rate of change of momentum. So this is the same thing that they're telling us here. Suppose an object of mass m has an initial velocity u. When a force F is applied in the direction of its velocity for time t, its final velocity becomes v. Therefore, the initial momentum of the object is mu. So, momentum's formula is actually mass into velocity. So, initial momentum would be mass into initial velocity that we take as u. And final momentum after traveling a time of t, it would be mass into the final velocity that we take as v. So the rate of change of momentum, that is how much momentum is changing per unit time, that is actually the meaning of rate. So rate of change of momentum is equal to change in momentum upon time. So the rate of change in momentum is the final momentum minus the initial momentum upon time t. So we seen earlier that initial momentum was mass into initial velocity, final momentum was mass into final velocity. Therefore, when you bring mass common outside, it would be v minus u upon t. But v minus u upon t, this term we know is also equal to acceleration, which was change in velocity per unit time. So when you multiply mass to change in velocity upon time, you would get the rate of change of momentum as mass into acceleration. According to Newton's second law of motion, the rate of change of momentum is proportional to the applied force. So, because of Newton's second law, we know that rate of change of motion that we got as mass into acceleration now is proportional, directly proportional to the force that we apply. And when you remove the proportional sign, you have to put a constant. So therefore, force is equal to a constant number multiplied by mass multiplied into acceleration. So here k they have put as the constant of proportionality and its value is 1. So when anything you multiply by 1, it is equal to multiplying that only. So force is equal to mass into acceleration, and this is a very important formula that we have obtained by using Newton's second law of motion that was telling us about momentum.
For the answers to this exercise and other free worksheets, please go to jkacademypro.com. This is the end of part 5. For the part 6 video, please click on the link in the description box below.